from walking out on the stage to leaving the stage, the whole crowd made it, and it's like, I'm excited to see Made too, but there's other music going on throughout the day. Let's just try to enjoy ourselves and have a good time.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time in the channel, hit subscribe right now. Greg, thank you so much for your time today. I really do appreciate it. It's the first time I get to talk to you. That's always exciting. And I mean, although I was a little intimidated at first because I was checking some of your Instagram posts as a band, and I think I'm dealing with the leader of the most intimidating biker gang of all of Berlin.
The EV riders.
That seemed like a lot of fun.
Oh man, that was probably one of my most recent favorite day offs we've ever had. That was such a fun time.
I don't give a shit, but at least I'm fucking honest. You pulled some dirty tricks.
We're like 30 minutes outside of the main city at a hotel, and it was just it was a really beautiful area.
Yeah. Awesome.
So we just rode around, got some pizza. It was a good time, man.
Yeah, you're feeling like a kid again. I think it definitely looked like awesome. Well, I mean, there's so much always to talk to you or other band members about, because there's always a lot to talk about. A lot of things going on. There's exciting stuff coming ahead, and we'll dig in a few things, but we'll see where this conversation really takes us. But the first thing I wanna touch on is when we listen to the stuff that has been shared with the broader public as well about new material coming up, and just all up the way that the band seems to operate from the outside in. It really does feel that this band has matured a lot in the last few years. Now, obviously, people that have been in the band for longer times, some shorter times, the band had to grow up quickly too, like dealing with early success, a roller coaster of a career, if you will. Do you feel that too? That that you're operating today in a way that you couldn't do like several years ago, just because you didn't go through that yet?
Oh, 100%. I mean, we've gone through the ringer as a band, as a business, as everything. And a band is like any relationship. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's not going to work out. But some people have the same goals, ambitions, and passions, and you stick it out, especially if you're lucky enough to have a fan base that's still staying interested in your art.
Right.
And I have such a passion to just keep creating. But on top of that, I had a lot of personal growth go on. Now, as the main songwriter and lyricist and lead singer, sometimes my personal experiences, actually most of the time, my personal experiences make it into the songwriting. So I'm happy to hear that it's sounding a little more mature coming from the music and just the songwriting aspect of it, because I've gone through a lot of personal growth. We did have a lot of massive early success, not only as a band and how early on in the band's career it was, but how young I was as well. I was not even 18 years old when I first started touring, and by the time This War Is Ours was coming out, I was only 21. And a year and a half after that album dropped, we got picked up by Interscope Records, which was like the biggest record company we could even imagine getting signed to. Huge signing bonus. Moved out to LA. I mean, the world was my oyster at that time, and I was dealing with a lot of personal demons at the same time. So that just, rabbit hole, went down it for a very long time, self-destructive nature, and finally came out of it. And I got to thank COVID for that. It made a lot of us kind of take a step back and really question what's going on here, especially in the entertainment industry. It was completely shut down. So I was feeling like I needed a break for a very long time, and I just couldn't do it. The business couldn't operate if I was taking a break. So if a guitar player wanted to sit something out, or a drummer wanted to sit something out, or the bassist wanted to sit something out, the show was still able to happen. We were able to figure it out. If I was wanting to sit something out, there's no show. Like how are we going to do it? So in that sense, I looked at the pandemic through a different lens and tried to see the silver lining through it all, and was like, I've been having these issues for years, like a lot of self-reflection. I've been having issues for years. I finally have some time off. It's time to grow up and take care of this shit.
What is also then a reality is that was a journey for you, but a journey for most, if not all, of your fans as well. Everybody, no matter who you were, you know, what you did throughout that time of the pandemic, everybody was forced to deal with demons that maybe they didn't even know they had before. And I can imagine that you see already a different kind of reaction, or from a relatability, maybe even to the art that you're putting out from fans that have been with you for a long time. You mentioned This War Is Ours already, and that was kind of like the acceleration, if you will, and that then led to you having to deal with a lot of your internal demons. You know, some people, depending on songs that have been released, some people say like, oh yeah, that reminds me of this album, and others, well, not at all. But there seems to be, from an artwork perspective, a bit of a connection there. Like the cover of the new album Coming and This War Is Ours seem to be more related than two other albums. Is there, for you as a songwriter, did this album, the whole process, the writing, did that bring back memories?
Absolutely. Yes, my attempt was to sort of bring it full circle. You know, if for this group, Escape the Fate, if it all started there, then let's bring it full circle. You know, if we're singing about coming out of the shadows as an overarching theme for the entire record, I want it to go back to those places. And, you know, I listened to that record a lot. I listened to all of our records a lot over the pandemic. And a lot of those songs that I was writing then, it made me very emotional. Yeah. Because it almost felt like I was connecting to them on a deeper level today than I was then. And it made me feel like I was writing those songs to myself from like a subconscious place.
Yeah.
It was just shocking, some of the lines I was hearing that I didn't even realize. I was like, oh my God, like I was really lost in it, and I was really reaching out to someone, to myself, and so I wanted to bring it full circle. And that's the overarching theme of the album, is just rebirth and growth and coming out of the shadows and into the light and all that stuff. So I'm excited for people to hear it. I hope that it inspires the listener as much as it has inspired me.
You know, with the early success, we saw this whole wave of like modern metalcore. You guys, you know, Breaking Benjamin, Asking Alexandra, a bunch of bands that were getting traction. But more than other bands in that wave, maybe, you guys stood out for a number of things. Not afraid to use color, and not everything had to be black, but also just from a musical technicality. I mean, people still go back to the Guillotine songs about this is what modern shredding could be all about, you know, and we didn't hear that necessarily from a lot of other bands that you guys were looped in with. So it seems that from the beginning, you're not afraid to kind of either break the rules or not care about the rules. That maybe came unconsciously, I don't know, but now do you think about that more? Do you look at expectation and stuff like that? Yeah.
That's always been our goal, and it's kind of been a curse in some ways. Right. Especially in the if you're thinking about writing a whole record, you know, I've always been interested in coming up with a concept record where from start to finish, it's a whole story. And as far as lyrical content for this one's probably the most that all the songs sort of stay in the same realm. At least it's not a concept album, like it's telling the same story from start to finish, but you know, the theme of it sort of stays the same from start to beginning. But that's not to say that the sound and style of the music doesn't change. We've always done that. You know, if you look at any one of our playlists, and I'm sure anyone that has Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, you look at our playlist today, we can listen to anything and it goes all over the place. So our likes and what we love to do musically change all the time. So we've always liked to do different things. We like to have the heavier track because we love the heavy songs, but we also like to do the power rock sort of sounding ballads because, you know, I grew up on hair metal and I love Def Leppard and Motley Crue and Journey and Aerosmith and all those bands. So I love to do songs that are sort of in that vein. And that's sort of been a curse to us, because sometimes the listener will say, oh, I really like this style of what you guys do.
Right.
What the hell are you doing over here? So we love doing different things and at the same time trying to experiment. So at the end of the day, you sort of get a record that just kind of sounds all over the place, but we've been doing it for so long. I feel like we're getting better at being able to do what we like to do as far as changing the style, but still finding a way to make it sound cohesive as a whole when it comes to a record, which I feel like we've been able to achieve on this one more than we have done on others. But at the same time, we sit here and we think, we're like, okay, is this going to be the last record? And we're just going to do singles from here on out. So we're able to experiment more and more and more. Because it's almost like when you lump things into a record, it's all the same. If you just release a single, it's able to be whatever you want it to be.
Right.
And that's what a lot of artists do these days. We don't really see a lot of record releases, but we hear a lot of new songs. So that's something that we've been talking about as a group. But I'm just excited to still be able to release new music. I love it.
There you go.
I love the creation process.
It does feel to me that today the whole hard rock and metal subculture, if you will, is also just in a healthier spot when it comes to being open to other things and intermingling within subgenres and things outside of the metal world and what have you, that maybe like 10-15 years ago that was much more like there were to me it feels there was a lot more gatekeeping going on like 10 years ago. I think your audience, or you potentially have a bigger audience today than, and I know you had a big audience, I'm not trying to say anything else, but I think that there's a whole new market out there of younger people that came in that for them it's the most normal thing that you just combine the craziest things together, and as long as it works, it works. Do you see that too? Do you see fresh new faces?
Oh, most certainly. Yeah, I see fresh new faces, and I've seen those crowds sort of change. You know, we just got back from being overseas and played a festival in Sweden where the headliners were Def Leppard and Motley Crue. And I remember 13, 14 years ago playing those same festivals where the headliners were those, classic hair metal bands. And I specifically remember Iron Maiden was the headliner. Right. And we played the same stage as them. And we went on stage, and the band before us, and like 4 bands after us, from walking out on the stage to leaving the stage, the whole crowd made it. And it's like, I'm excited to see Maiden too, but there's other music going on throughout the day. Let's just try to enjoy ourselves and have a good time.
Yeah. No, for sure.
But playing those festivals today, everybody's just enjoying themselves. Yeah. Which is amazing. That's what music is supposed to be. It's supposed to be an escape from reality and just lose yourself in the song and have a good time.
And there is like also now, there are now bands that are booming, if you will, that clearly you've inspired now. And there's this whole new scene of, and I'm just going to call it so I'm calling you from Toronto in Canada, but I'm originally from Europe. I moved a couple of years ago. So as a non-American looking into the States, I'm just going to call it modern American metal.
Okay.
Where we see bands like, Ice Nine Kills, obviously, who there's now a link with you guys as well officially, Hollywood Undead, Archetypes Collide, like bands that at one point looked at you guys and have adopted that kind of like idea of like, we can be colorful, we can do whatever we want, we can mix things together that people wouldn't expect. And they're now also, which wasn't the case maybe 10 years ago, we see those American sounding bands have success in Europe, in South America, in Asia. Mm-hmm. That seems to be also on the rise. Is it maybe just a fair, maybe it's a simpler question. Is it a fair assumption that you guys are going to continue focusing on the international market versus only the States?
Absolutely. It's amazing you asked that, because management was just telling me about a week ago that 2024 is shaping up to be, an internationally focused year for the band.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting ready to head out at the tail end of 2023, doing the Out of the Shadows tour, which is the tour for the new record. New record drops the 1st, doing a couple festivals. We'll go into like the holiday, and then as soon as the new year hits, it's kind of going international again with it. So going back to Europe and talks of hitting Japan and going back to Australia and South America, and just kind of focused on the global.
The band actually, if you look at it, has been ridiculously stable from its core lineup. Yes, there have been changes. Every band has changes, right? But if you truly look at it, like, you guys have been able, at the core, to really stick together. Is that something now that if you have a moment to take a step back and look at that crazy roller coaster, that it somehow surprises you, or not at all?
Absolutely. I'm impressed to this day that we've been able to still stick it out. And, you know, some people might disagree. Some fans might disagree. You know, they look back at the beginnings of the band, and, you know, after 16 years, some people still call me the new guy, and, you know, Robert's the only one that's still there. But we sit back and we're like, dude, we're still releasing records. We're still touring the world. It might not be like the massive level of success that maybe we want or hope for, but it's still going. Like, we're still doing it. Like, This War Is Ours came out in 2008. We were recording it in 2007.
Yeah.
We just wrapped up last year, you know, a 10-year anniversary tour for a second album. So we've done 2 10-year anniversary tours for 2 separate albums now. When we take a step back and we look at our own side of the street, and we stop, you know, comparing apples to oranges, or you know, seeing that the grass is greener on the other side while we're not tending to our own yard, it's like, man, a lot of our peers haven't lasted this long. Even some of our favorite bands have only done one, like, 10-year anniversary tour that was successful and then called it a day. And it's like, man, we're talking about doing another anniversary tour for another album that the fans are hungry for, while still releasing another new album, and talking about going on, you know, a global tour run. And it's like, we just feel extremely grateful.
Yeah. Well, and obviously, not once you do that first 10-year anniversary, now that means that in a few years from now, every year there's going to be a 10, 15, or 20th anniversary of everything, right?
The fans are going to be hungry. We want to hear this record front to back. But that's a good thing, you know? We're grateful that we have a fan base that wants to hear, you know, the music front to back every album so far. And it's those diehard fans that are the reason why Escape the Fate is still around today.
Given what you confirmed earlier, that not only are there some clear callbacks, if you will, to This War Is Ours, but that you shared that, you know, you wrote the new material very much coming from inspiration of that album. Should we expect to see that album and the new album predominantly featured when you guys are going to play shows?
I wouldn't say predominantly. You know, the set we've come up with definitely has some deeper cuts from This War Is Ours that we don't always play live. A lot of the songs from the new album, some deeper cuts from the whole catalog. You know, we just want it to be a set in a show that people haven't necessarily seen before.
Yeah.
So adding a lot of songs that we don't normally play or have never played before or haven't played in about 10 years, while also still making sure we play the songs that, if, you know, you're an Escape the Fate fan, you come to the show, we don't want you to leave and say, holy shit, I can't believe they didn't play that.
Yeah.
So we got to play those songs, and then playing the new songs, and we're actually adding a cover song, which we're excited about. So just keeping it fun, man, and bringing out more production than we've ever brought before. We just want to bring a show that we haven't ever brought to the stage before.
Greg, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Of course, Jasper.
Really fun talking to you for the first time, man. Yeah, absolutely. I wish you guys.
Hopefully not the last.
Hopefully not the last. No, exactly. And when you guys pass through Canada or somewhere in Europe sometime. Hopefully we can do it in person as well. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I wish you guys all the best in becoming the Motley Crue of our generation, but for the right reasons.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, thanks so much. Excited about the new album. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best in this continued release cycle.
Jasper.
There you go, sir.
I appreciate you, man.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.